Max 21D performs remote viewing, deactivating chips and codes or programming, raising the vibrations and healing this great planet. We are co-creating a better reality. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Max Steel Show. This show is not live. This is a pre-recorded show that I'm doing for the first time I ever done something like this because of the guest and his time and where he's at. So I'm not going to release what location he's at. Okay, so for his protection, but he's got a lot of incredible things to talk about. So I want to thank first my producer, Russ, co-host Jennifer, Martin, and my wife, Nicole. She's my co-host, and Vanessa, my sergeant at arms. And my guest is Ali Dammegard.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Captain Max Steel. It's a real honor.
Nah, forget the captain. No more captain. I'm a civilian now.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I was a Green Beret in the Special Forces, the U.S. Army. So I'm completely retired from that. Anyway, we know there is a lot of things going on. We know that the cabal are standing on their last leg, on the last leg and the last toe. I don't know how they can do it, but they can. They can stand on that big toe on one foot, and that's all they got left. So we know that they're going down. It's just a matter of time before we get our planet back, the planet Earth. And we'll have all kinds of freedom and love flowing through it. And that's what we all want. There's a lot of warriors like you, and also Cody Snodgrass. He happens to be a friend. He was on the show this past Wednesday. And also the other people that I know, like ex-Navy SEAL Craig Sawman Sawyer. He's fighting for our freedom. And we all taking chances. But we're not afraid. I'm not afraid to face them face to face, which I have many times. And I just want to send a message to them that I'm not afraid of you. The dark forces, cabal, I'm not. And don't mess with me because I'll hurt you. All right. So I just want to say that I want to thank you for the show, Ali. And is that okay if I call you Ali?
Sure is. I don't know what else you would call me. But...
Well, I can call you with your first name and last name. But anyway, we're all here. We're all family here. We're working for the same cause, and we want things to go the right way. So without doing any more delays that I'm doing right now, I'm not. I just want you to come on in and say something about yourself. And let's talk about what we did earlier. So go on with that. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me once again. And I feel privileged to be among you because these are intense times and many people fall off the train. Other people have the courage to keep standing up and facing what looks to be very great powers. But just like you, Max, I totally feel that we are beyond the tipping point. I feel very strongly that it's almost like the dragon is slain, but the tail is still doing all kinds of desperate, spasms, and it looks very real. But this is also why I believe that they keep pumping on with all of these false flags and psyops and so on, for us to get the impression that they are really powerful and mighty when they're actually extremely weak. if they weren't weak, they would have taken over a long, long time ago. If they weren't weak, they didn't have to rely on false flag operations or psyops. They could just, boom, put us wherever they wanted. But they don't. They don't. And every single time we challenge them, they don't. And the reason why? Because they're, if you ask me, I think they're down in the thousands. The rest of us are like billions. So it's an absolute joke that we even have programs like this, I would say, but very necessary. Because also what we've been engulfed in is this fear-mongering, this almost like porn that is being poured over us, of fear porn, keeping us in this fear mode. And what I'm trying to do, and what I've done for the last 35 odd years, is try to break the spell, show how few they are, also show the methods that are being used against us, which is also very few when you really get into it. And just like when you look at a magician like David Blaine or any of these big guys, it looks like absolute magic. It looks like they have these magical powers and so on. But the more you start seeing it, the more you start studying it, the more you start circling around the magician doing his trick from different angles, the more shows you go to, one day you will suddenly see, oh my God, he didn't do it with his left hand. He did it with his right hand behind his back. And the second you see that, boom, the spell is broken. You have become awake to that instance. And so I feel that it is essential for us to see what's going on here, because either we're in a, for instance, we're in a world filled with crazy Muslim terrorists that the only thing they're thinking about is how to create bombs and blow us up, or we are in a world where the enemy is from within, where it's behind closed doors, dark veils of the dark corridors of power, that it's inside jobs, where the enemy is from within, the deep state, or even deeper than the deep state, and so on. So I think it's extremely important to first understand what is the problem. Whenever there's something thrown at us saying, oh, there's a new mass shooting, oh, there's a terror attack, oh, there's an assassination. First of all, what actually happened? The official story, is it true? Well, I don't know. Let's check it out. And what I try to do is, even though I'm just a one-man band and without funding for anyone, I stay out of organizations, groups, you name it. I stay on my own because I don't want to be infiltrated or corrupt or whatever. So, but what I try to do is get on location. So I've been on location to more or less all of the places here in Europe where alleged terror attacks have taken place. And I have a background as a journalist, which is something I used to be proud of, the word or the name journalist. But when you look nowadays, I mean, it's almost like an insult to people that call themselves journalists. Really? I mean, what are they doing? They're checking out what Britney Spears had for breakfast, more or less, that's it, instead of really looking at what's going on. And so I'm not that fond of the title anymore, even though what we are doing, people like you, me, Jennifer, so that is what real journalists should do. Real police, real military. It shouldn't be up to us. We're just like ordinary. I mean, I'm just a farmer brown that seems to have gone lost somewhere and very confused, trying to figure out what the hell went down here, because I am in a world where everything seems to be upside down. So I'm trying to figure out what is actually happening here and how can we put it back in balance. Yeah. So I've dedicated, like I said, some 35 years of my life to trying to figure out what happened. I specialized in top political assassinations like JFK, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, the Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme, the top secret hit team Operation 40 or Group 40 that has been part of so many assassinations, but also all kinds of false flag and mass shootings in the US, here in Europe, you name it. I've been there trying to track down witnesses, track down victims, alleged victims, trying to find birth certificate, death certificates, measuring angles. I mean, you name it, wherever there's been one of these, I've been crawling around on all four with sort of a measuring tape and looking like an absolute geek. But this is what is needed when the official sources don't do it. So I've done somewhere between 500 and 1,000 interviews on international radio. I also found different ways of exposing these false flags before they go down, because they have an incredible and fantastic habit of leaving clues about upcoming attacks in the forensic evidence. The reason for that is, from insiders, what they've told me is that the people behind, or the forces behind these operations, are very aware of the law of karma. They're very fearful of it because they've been up to a lot of bad stuff. And so what they think is that if they show us, even in subtle ways, what they're up to, and we do not react, then the bad karma is on our shoulders, not there. It's even at a point where I've been informed recently that, according to them, they think that they gain good karma if they are able to pull it off right in front of our eyes. So that's why they leave these clues. And since 2014, when I first became aware of that this is actually true, the clues are left there on purpose, then my whole focus has been on finding the clues. And I know for sure that I've stopped personally 2 planned false flag massacres, and I've exposed about 14 now, of them up to 2 months before they actually happen, on international radio, where I pinpointed the location and so, based on the clues that they left there. So I'm trying to show and live by example, by standing in truth, even though it's shit scary many times, by also letting go of fear, understanding that we are all deadly, that we all have to die one day, so we might as well live and make ourselves proud and excel by standing up for what we believe. And so this is why I thank you for making a platform like this, where important information can be spread through myself and many others, because there's so many beautiful individuals that here and now just see enough is enough. I'm not taking it anymore. I will not accept this, and step forward. So that's about it.
Well, you know, the other thing is that we all risking our lives going out there on the air. Yeah. And they see our faces and we talk about them. And even though, you know, some people say, well, we're not scratching we're not, you know, at the bottom of the bucket, but we're actually on the top of the bucket, and they're at the bottom of the bucket. So we are the ones that are actually putting the information out there, so everybody out there can see what's going on about everything. And the things that I want to hear from you is, let's talk about the assassinations attempts of all these people. I know for a fact there's been 14 on our president, Trump. And I know for sure there's 14 of them that have tried to take him out, but he's not going to be able to be taken out. He's a man of the light, and he's here to help us here. And he has proven that way beyond many times. I know that a lot of people don't agree with me, but you know, that's my opinion, and we're entitled to freedom of speech, and that's what I'm working on right now. So let's get on to the heavy stuff that the audience doesn't know about.
Okay, so what heavy stuff would you like?
Well, about the assassinations attempt and all they're trying to do. Let's talk about the false flag and all this stuff. And we got to talk deeper. We got to go deep, because the audience that's listening to us, especially the people in the Wolfpack chat room, they're very intelligent, they're very smart, they know what's going on. But if there could be something along the way that you'll be speaking of that is going to be quite an eye-opener, not just for the chat room, but everybody around the world that listens to the show. We have over 378,000 listeners every week. So not just my show, but other people too. So they do come in here and listen to it. So just go ahead and let it go. I mean, go for it.
Go for it. In that case, what I've done over the years is I had no idea that so many different cases were connected. Absolutely no idea. The thing that woke me up around 1980 was the JFK assassination, which I got totally almost obsessed about, and I spent so many years looking into it. I was also one of the speakers at the JFK assassination conference in Dallas a few years ago, and the JFK assassination took me into the Robert Kennedy as well, the Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Abraham Lincoln, and so on. And at that time, I did not know that they were connected. I thought they were totally separate cases. But then over the years, the more I studied it, the more I started seeing that there's some kind of template being used here. It's almost like it's a bullet point list that is being followed here. Not that I've never ever found this in writing or anything. I just, by comparing the different methods, not on a street level. Very often that differs the way somebody is being terminated, but the whole setup with a patsy, with an investigation that is totally rigged, only there not to find out the truth, followed by commissions that are totally part of the crime and not there to find the truth, just to cover it up, followed by other commissions that are not there to find the truth, only there to cover the whole thing, part of the crime. Once I started seeing that this is what is actually going on, I started to make very, very detailed lists and sort of analysis of different events. And it came to a point where I started to get a clear indication on how they do these things. And I believe this is nothing new. I think it goes back to the old Romans, how they got rid of the political enemies, how they duped the population into believing that it was the work of a lone crazy guy. The reason why they want the patsy to be alone is then by law there's no conspiracy. And then if this individual is suicided or killed on location, then case closed, thank you and goodbye. And the reason why they want him crazy is because then there's no need for motive. So once again, he was crazy or a fanatic. They love the fanatic nowadays because they weaponize certain words. And so nowadays, if you say Muslim, boom, your brain goes in crazy fanatic. If you say Islam, oh my God, terrorist. That is how they weaponize these words. And this is how they done also with the word conspiracy theorist or conspiracy theory. It's a CIA word that was created in between 1964 and 67 to be used against people like us who started raising questions saying, listen, this official story doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I'm confused here. Let's go look for the truth. Once you start doing that, if you are successful at it and if you don't back down, they will throw this at you. Oh, he's just a conspiracy theorist. The reason for that is as soon as you throw in theory or theorist is that then you have a doubt. And then you can make jokes about this individual. Or tinfoil hat is another one. But by the way, I've been in contact with different experts and tinfoil hats actually work quite good when it comes to radiation, 5G, and these type of things. So there you go. We're turning the tide here. So with these assassinations or false flag, to understand what a false flag is, I just want to go through what it means. It's an old naval term. That once again, we go back in history because these things have been used forever and ever. And in the old days when Spain, the Netherlands, Portugal, England, and so on was traveling around in vessels, conquering, raping, plundering everywhere, they had the power, they had the military power to do whatever they wanted. But sometimes it could be maybe it could mess up the trade agreements with neighboring countries or whatever. So somebody came up with a psyop. Instead of us being the bad guys, just total, the bully, that totally the force of destruction here, let's play it in another way. Let's become the victim. So what they did was they put the enemy's flag on one of their own ships so that they themselves could attack themselves and say, oh my God, we're under attack. We're the victims. We need to defend ourselves. And then that would justify them going in, rape, total death, and plunder. So doing the exact same thing, but the attacker, the victim is actually attacker. It's a psyop. That's the important thing to understand. In a false flag, the victim is actually the attacker. So then the pirates, they thought, oh, that's a good one. So what they did was that whoever they targeted, they put on that flag. And so it was a British ship that they wanted to plunder, up with a British flag, and then, yay, boom, 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 boom. And the enemy or the target wouldn't even notice until it was too late. So false flag operation is a psyop where the victim is the attacker. It's a psyop for us to look the other way, to not understand what's going on. And this has been used, I mean, I cannot say how many times. It's in the hundreds. And when you look at, I would almost dare to say all wars in modern times are based on false flag operations, where you get small little countries to suddenly attack you and you go, well, I'm very sorry, but you were the one who started it, and bam, and game over. But, well, they shouldn't have done it with us because they should have known better. Well, they didn't even know what happened. They didn't even know what hit them. And so one of the countries that are absolute best at this is the country where you live. If you look at your track record when it comes to wagering war, not a very positive one, I must say. You show me any other country in the world that have started like 4 or 5 wars in total over the last few hundred years. I don't really know any, not a lot of them anyway. And then we have the US, which is up in 200 and I don't know. So to quote Chip Tatum, this is nothing personal to you, my friends here, but really the US need to look themselves in the mirror and say, hang on, I mean, there's something very, very wrong here. And to talk about defense is an absolute joke. It is, it's like Mike Tyson, if he went up in the ring with a 3-year-old and just knocked the living bejesus out of the kid, saying, well, the kid spat at me, so I had to defend myself. It's the same balance here. So all of these other countries, because when you look at the world and the New World Order, the power structure that I believe is behind a lot of what is going on now, you will see that there are like 3 power centers in the world. There's the religious center in the Vatican, or religious, they call it religion, but I mean it's super crimes on a very high level. You got the financial center in the old town of London, and then you got the war center in Washington, D.C. And then in this triangle, everything is just passed right, left, and center. Drugs, pedophile trafficking, weapons, arms, oil, you name it. It just goes like this. And then whatever is needed, they just need whatever center, activate that. And that is, I believe, a big part of how this game is being played. So to quote Chip Tatum, who is a CIA whistleblower and a friend of mine, he said that the biggest terror tool in the world is the US Army, which I find very, very tragic, because the people that sign up, mostly people from minorities and poor backgrounds and so on, they believe that they're doing something good. They join the forces, they think, yay, for freedom and liberty, we're going to go out and liberate these countries and fight the bad guys. It's an absolute BS story, the whole thing, because you soon find yourself in a situation where you're killing, raping, stealing, destroying in the name of other people's greed. It has nothing to do with nationalities. It has nothing to do with defense. It is pure intimidation, destruction, brutal death, rape, and plunder. There's no pretty name for it. Even if they call it Operation Stardust or whatever they want to call it, it's still the same. Very often nowadays, I would suggest that it's been turned around. They even hijack words from us. So they use, every time they say something, you have to turn it around. When they say freedom, you have to listen. No, it's slavery. If they say liberty, no, it's actually prison. If they say we go and liberate this country, no, you're going to go there and destroy and enslave and totally destroy it, because of, it's always the same. It's the location, or it's oil or minerals or weapons or drugs. That's the reason why. And also control. of these areas. So I sometimes speak directly to people in uniform because I feel it breaks my heart when I think of people that are going out there doing what they think is the right thing, and then suddenly they end up in a situation where they're being shot at, or people are throwing rocks at them, and they're so-called defending themselves by killing people in countries that have done nothing, absolutely nothing, except having oil or being in a strategic position, minerals, uranium, you name it, pipelines where they want to build a pipeline or something like that. That's the only crime that country has done. And then, but in comes the American cavalry. What the hell? No, for freedom and liberty. I'm very sorry. Absolute bullshit. It is such, based on such lies, and the greed of so few. I mean, I could accept it had it been the greed of the soldiers, had the soldiers got something for it, then there's some kind of logic to it. I go out, I do, I get. I rape, plunder, I get. I rob, I get. But here's the exact opposite. They put their lives on the line. They get blown up. They get legs and arms and whatever blown up and shot off. And what? For what? For their desires, for their greed? Absolutely nothing. But of course, their commander, your president, will treat them like heroes when they come home. And since they've done so much for the country, will do everything to take care of you. No, the absolute opposite there as well. US military, and it's NATO as well, it's not only the US, NATO has turned from a so-called defense unity into an absolute attack weapon. Brutal, brutal. And I was born in Denmark. I am ashamed of little beautiful Denmark being part of NATO doing these things. I mean, really, that is so awful. It's time to wake up and not just blame others. So, but when people come home, soldiers come home, how are they treated? I mean, Chip Tatum, he works a lot for the veterans. I mean, as far as I know, it can take up to 6 years just to get the pension that you've been promised. You know, and these soldiers have been pumped up with different vaccines and drugs and you name it, destroying their bodies. They've been driving around in tanks that were built with depleted uranium. They've been firing weapons with depleted uranium, radioactive. I mean, when you think, it's just bizarre. And then these are the commanders you want to salute and say, thank you so much for leading us into battle. No, thank you so much for leading us into absolute hell. Hell. And then you come back home, you're totally forgotten. You're lying around in diapers, puking. Nobody really cares. There's no money to take care of you in these veterans hospitals or normal hospitals or schools or you name it. But if they want 1,000 more CCTV cameras, go for it. Or if there's another mass shooting, so we need another few thousand body scanners or backscatters. I mean, these type of things, the money is always there. When it comes to normal people, taking care of normal people, children, our old people, our veterans, whoever are homeless, no, very sorry, no money there. It is a very, very, very sad and sickening state. And I think enough.
Ole, what about the New World Order? You mentioned that earlier. That to me is the umbrella under which all this destruction is falling. And it's the agenda, you know, the UN agenda, it's 21 and now 2030. Can you give people, you know, can you connect the dots for us, for those who don't understand how that all plays out?
Like I say in the beginning, I had no idea either. I did not know about these things at all. It's only over the years that I've started seeing that, oh my God, the same person there and there and there and there and there and there. The same power construction, constellations of power behind the scenes, where families and groups have been working very, very strategically to get the power to fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer over centuries. They worked the very straight line to get central power. That's the whole idea. So the so-called New World Order that George Bush Sr., for one, in 1990, was kind enough to step forward. And actually on 9/11, the exact date, 11 years before 9/11 in the UK, he stepped forward and introduced the New World Order. But this had been something real for many, 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 many years and generations before that, but the strategy like that. So the idea of the so-called New World Order is to destroy everything. Destroy everything. I mean everything. Land, earth, water, families, races, nations, food, you name it, destroy it. And out of the destruction, build what they call the New World Order. Out of that will come the New World Order. And the New World Order, the image, if you look at it as an image, is a one world fascist state. It is a world without borders, but where the military, it's a world army, the US Army and the NATO combined, not there to protect you, to control you. That's the whole idea. It's a one world digital currency, super, super, super dangerous when you go digital, because nowadays, if you have a problem with your credit card, oh, I'm sorry, the cashier said, no, sorry, your card was rejected. You can just take out some coins in your pocket and say, okay, bump, here. But once that is gone, when you can no longer use normal cash, when the cash is gone, the one that controls your credit card or your chip or whatever it is in total control of you. And you are the slave under whoever decides that, no, sorry, Ole, you did not behave today, you bad boy, and boom, I'm out. Okay. And it's very scary because countries like Sweden is now more or less 99% cashless. It's bizarre. When I go there, I was brought up there. I mean, I go there, I'm like in a foreign country. I can't pay, I can't function at all. You can't get on a bus without sort of apps on your cell phones, because the cash, you can't fill up your car with cash. You can't go to the bank. The banks don't use cash at all anymore. You even have to tell people if you want to put money in your account, you have to tell them where you got the money. 2 steps. Not only I got the money from my grandmother, no, where did your grandmother get the money that she gave to you? You have to prove it, to put the money in your account, not withdraw it. It's getting bizarre. Some of the beggars in the street have card readers. I mean, it's like unreal. But anyway, a one world order, one world fascist state, one world army there to control you, not to defend you. One world digital currency where they control it, totally control you if they get through that one. They want a one world religion as well. So they're trying to destroy all religions and then get it into one where they can say hallelujah and just believe in us and everything will be okay. And then also they want to get rid of like 2/3 of us, like chop, in different ways, through vaccines, through GMOs, through wars, through disasters, through you name it. They want a lot of us gone. And I think if they want people gone, well, they could start with themselves. I don't think they would be that missed by many of us. Also, Agenda 21, you were talking about Agenda 21 and Agenda 30, which so many countries have signed. When you look at it, when you read it, it's like the work of an absolute mad scientist. Look into it. There are like videos for people who don't want to concentrate more than 2 minutes at a time. There are videos that says Agenda 21 for Dummies. I can recommend these type of videos just to get a general idea. And when you look at what's going on there, it's like, wake me up. I must be dreaming or having a nightmare, because it is so bizarre. They want to push people away from the countryside into the cities. They want to turn the cities into so-called smart cities with smart grid. That's where 5G comes in. Super, super, super dangerous. It's a massive step from 4G up to 5G. It's a whole new militarized technology that will just connect everything and put us into like a digital super prison. So stay away from that. But also, I want to say that these smart cities, one of the things they do is that with these highways, they start, if you haven't noticed the last 10 years or so, they started shutting off the entries and exits from the highways to small little towns and so on, so that you can't get into them. You can't get, and so people slowly also, all the work are in the cities, and so on. So we're being pushed into the cities. And in Agenda 21, they have like the railroad lines from areas, I mean, concentration camps, you have to call that, even though it's in the shape of buildings, but it's sort of like building blocks. And just for working labor that can then be transported to whatever factory and then back and back, no freedom whatsoever. Also, I would very much say for you, and since you experienced it in California, these fires that are going on in California and China, Sweden with more than 80 fires going on, you have in Portugal, you have in Greece as well. These fires are not natural. You have to start looking into this, and you will see that the areas have been heavily chemtrailed for a long, long time, where the aluminum through the air, it's there for many, many different reasons, strontium, barium, and so on. But one of the things that this aluminum does is it makes it highly flammable. So first they get rid of the rains, so you get this extreme heat that has been in Northern Europe and in many other areas of the world, extreme heat and drought. And then at night, most of the time, comes directed energy weapons, which sounds like absolute science fiction. Go to Lockheed Martin's website. They're very proud to show you, oh, they were on Fox News not so long ago, just a week before the California fire started, saying we now have this totally silent and absolute deadly weapon that can knock out up to 5 mobile drones at the same time. It can ignite whatever. It has the laser force of burning right through engine blocks and stuff like that. It's fantastic for your security. So, but these fires, you will see that they're done with surgical precision, just knocking out buildings in these areas. It's all following Agenda 21, how to get rid of people in that area and push them into the city. Destroy everything of value, all the buildings that they don't want, but sometimes they need buildings like gas stations and so on. So you see the fires go exactly around the gas station and then continue on the other side. The trees are green if they're not burning from inside, like absolute bizarre phenomena you have in these things. And they get repeated in many different countries. This is a global agenda. The same thing happening in Europe as in the only difference is, please stop me if I ramble, but the only difference when it comes to the agenda is that you have the mass shootings in the US and we have alleged terror attacks in Europe. The reason for that is that you're armed, we are not. So they want you to get rid of the weapons. It's built on an old Roman template. They love the old Roman template, and there are very few, which is good news. It's problem, reaction, solution. The few in power secretly create a problem. That can be a financial crash, a mass shooting, a bomb, a terror scare, what do you call it, a virus scare, Zika, Ebola, swine flu, whatever. They secretly create this problem to get us into a reactive mode of absolute fear. Oh my God, something needs to happen. I need protection. And so we turn towards the people that we think are there to protect us, not understanding that it's actually them who are doing it to us and saying, please, please. And they will then say, well, the only way we can protect you with this horrible problem is, and boom, in comes the solution. Problem, reaction, solution. And the solution every single time is something we would never, ever have accepted had it not been for the problem. So when something happens, wait for it. because nowadays they're so afraid of you changing channels and so on. So you can just see it being played out in front of you. Something happens, boom, a bomb somewhere, a mass shooting or something like that. The reporter is asking a so-called eyewitness. The eyewitness, part of the operation. The reporter, part of the operation. So what happened? Well, there was blood everywhere. They were shooting all the, oh, that's so horrible, so horrible, so to get us into this emotional, like, oh my God, they go emotional so we don't use the brain. And so they, to get us in this emotional state, women and children, nuns, nurses, these are the things. Old guys, doesn't work. Tractors, cows, doesn't work. Children, women, that is the one that get the emotions going. So check out the victims and teenagers also when it comes to mass shooting. So this is happening. You get the emotional reaction of the viewer in the sofa. Oh my God, Maggie, did you hear that? Another shooting, it's horrible. And then the reporter, since they are afraid of us changing channels or leaving too fast, will serve you their solution. It's really interesting to see this being played out. The problem reaction, wait for the solution, wait for it, and boom, in came the reporter saying. And then when it comes to your country, the solution every single time is the same. Give up the weapons. It's the weapons that is the problem. The solution, more and more robocops, militarized police, CCTV cameras, surveillance, you giving up your right to paying them to enslave you. That's the standard one. When it's in Europe, since we don't have the weapons and since we're too well off, too well fed, the only thing they can get us with is terror, random terror. So they keep this as a loop, the same, the same, the same, the same. It's like watching the same Rambo movie 34 times the same year, just different countries. You can't change the script that many times, and they don't. And so, you know, I was, like I said, I was one of the speakers in Dallas a few years ago, and I was talking about false flags because they asked me to connect the assassination with what was going on now. And I ended the whole thing, if I may quote myself, I ended the whole thing with saying that a friend of mine, we have spent hours and hours because we want to put together text or a song that really shows what we stand for, what we believe in, and what we think is important as a statement. And so I said to them, I'm not a singer, but I would very much like for you to sing it for you. And if you feel the same, then maybe you want to join me. And there was totally quiet. Everybody was sitting waiting. And so I said,
well, I gotta say something. You know,
Max, can I just sing the song first and then?
Yeah, go ahead.
It goes like this. We're so tired of the bullshit, yes we are. We're so tired of the bullshit, yes we are. We're so tired of the bullshit, we're so tired of the bullshit, yes we are. And then the second verse, they said all of them, in the end, everybody was singing, you know, we're so tired of the bullshit. Because it's like so poorly pulled off. It's such crap operations. It's so like, come on, the same again, really? So please, Max.
Well, I got to tell you something that you definitely are working with the light. The black curtain you got behind you, you're sending a message to the darkness that the light will always be in front of them. And there's no way they can hurt us anymore because, see, you got that black curtain behind you and you're sitting in front of it and you're the leader of the light. So that, in other words, the curtains in the back that are black are actually behind you. That means we're winning, and they're not going to be able to take over us anymore. Now, there's a question here that was read here by a moderator, Vanessa. It says, do they have a favorite medium to leave the clues, such as they tend to use one or more than others?
I'm sorry, I did not understand the question.
Okay, in other words, do the dark energy, even though, you know, they always follow somebody. the dark side always follows somebody. They do have, I know for a fact, they do use different mediums and wizards to find out things if they're on the right track. But the wizards are telling them that they're not winning anymore because the light people, the star people that were sent to Earth on missions. You're one of them. I'm one of them. Jennifer's one of them. Russ is one of them. My wife and Vanessa. We're all part of the light, and we're all sent here on a mission to defeat them. And we will defeat them. That's a fact. I know that they use wizards and all kinds of black magic to do things and to get away with things. But they are losing, and they will not win anymore because there are more of them. We are in the billions. They don't have a billion people here. They don't. They don't have few, and they probably only have less than 300. Because there used to be the 300 committee, and that 300 committee is no longer. It's more like 12 approximately. But yeah, they still have the power because they can control the financial system like the Rothschild. They do that. And also the other thing, Ollie, that we have here in the United States, in the state of Georgia, where they have the headstones, the hedges stone, and they want to reduce the population to 500,000 on the planet. So what? Let's say an example. Well, I'm not going to say they're going to be able to do it because they won't. And those stones are still up because we follow certain things like the Freedom of Speech Act, but they don't care about that because what the information that's written on those rock stones is to eliminate and kill people. To me, they're violating the laws by saying as they're actually going to do that. So what we need to do is to get somebody brave enough, and I'm willing to do it, but I just don't have the money. If somebody go down there and Georgia's got a big old bulldozer, like a 9D or a 10D Caterpillar, just knock that damn thing down and blow it up. And by doing that, we're sending them a message. But by leaving it up, you're scared. And the people are scared and they're into fear. We need to remove those hedges and send them a message that that's not going to be tolerated here on this planet anymore. What do you think about that?
I think what you're saying is wonderful. I mean, the thing is also, when you look at these stones, we are terrified saying, ooh, but the only thing, when you look at it, it's a piece of rock and somebody has written some of it. So if there's a graffiti in New York City and somebody's writing, I'm going to kill you, will that freak you out? No, it doesn't really affect me. So why are we so scared of these stones? I know maybe they put them out there, just like you say. Oh, I'm very sorry, I just took a left. I didn't really mean that with my truck. And great, go pee on them, turn them over, whatever. Just show them, or paint them pink and make them with a gay flag on top, or whatever. You know, like put balloons on them or whatever. Just take away the power, the fear power from them. It's ridiculous. We should have torn them down right away.
Exactly.
I see now that in Little Rock, Arkansas, they have this statue of Satan in front of the what is it, the government building there. I mean, what is that? It's like, it's really getting bizarre. Yeah, I think it's quite funny when you think of that. Bill Clinton comes from there. There's another super criminal for you, including his wife. But we had to sort of make a stand and say, listen, enough is enough. This is pure craziness. This is madness. And it's like, I'm a super peaceful individual. I don't step on ants. I don't kick a dog. I treat everyone with respect, I hope. But I'm not taking this crap. You know, I am standing up against these ones, and I will. I am not backing down. And you said somewhere on the not known location. I live outside Sabinillas, up in the mountains in southern Spain. I have friends murdered. I have had to move country because of these things. I'm not hiding. And I totally stand in for what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not afraid. I am. I mean, I don't want to die. I really enjoy being here on this beautiful planet or flat plate or whatever it is. I don't know. But yet again, I'm not buying into this bullying of the rest of us. I hate when people are being terrorized. I hate when people are being hurt. I hate when people, innocent people, are, are getting killed. Otherwise than that, I try to stay away from hate because it sort of toxifies my system. But I'm not having this. And if wherever I can make a difference, I'm there. And I really want to say also to anyone listening here, I am so up for secret meetings with military, police, you name it, insiders, so-called former members of the elite. Let's talk. Have some bold step forward. Let's talk. I know you are afraid of your pension or that you would, maybe you don't know who to trust and so on. I'm saying let's talk. The time is now to join together. And because people in uniform nowadays are part of the problem. You're the one guarding them from us. It should be you guarding us from them, but it's actually the opposite. It's the other way around. What is, I mean, now, if you have a guy from Hells Angels and a politician, I trust the Hells Angels guy a lot more. I would, and you a normal police officer or Hells Angels, I would go for Hells Angels if I needed protection. It's so upside down. We need to take it back. We need to take back the morals. We need to take back the value of you giving your word and stand by it and not trying to cheat or lie and deceive just because they do it. We need to take these beautiful values back and live by them in non-violence, non-fear, and just go for it. And this fear thing, please, I am a fearful person as well, so I'm not preaching here, but when you think of it, fear, can you grab it in the air? Can you see it? No. Why not? Because it's up here. It's only in your head, and it's always connected to the future, something that has not happened yet. Fear is not, you're not afraid of something that happened yesterday. No, you're afraid of something in the future, and they know that. So they need psyops because it's only through fear that they can control us. They are so few. They are so few. Why do they run around? Why do the SWAT teams run around with masks and look like terrorists? Why do they do it? They fear us recognizing them and so on. It's the same with all of this thing. It's a psyop. Because if we start seeing how many we are, how few they are, and also the power you get from standing in fearlessness, just saying, I'm not having this. Also understanding your part, whatever your part is. I don't know, maybe you're a scientist, making rockets that can blow out the brains of people without whatever, them even blinking. Fantastic. Not. It's horrible what you're up to. The whole war industry, I mean, my God, how many times do you need to be able to blow up this beautiful world before you're satisfied? What you're doing is satanic. It's awful. You have to stop it. People that install plumbers in FEMA camps or electricians or whatever in banks that are putting people in slavery forever and ever. Do you know mortgage, what that stands for? It's a French word. It means death cage. That is the exact translation of mortgage. Death cage. They're putting it in your face. All of us have to look in the mirror and say, am I in any way or form part of this death machine that is part of destroying this beautiful place? And if so, am I willing to continue? Now I cannot deny anymore. I can't lie to myself. If I see it and I see, oops, now I know it, then I'm part of the problem. So how do you want to solve it? How can you be part of solving it? Maybe
sabotage, get out of the problem, work from the inside, leak out information, become a whistleblower, treat people with kindness, generosity, whatever. You know, this is the way. Kindness is the way forward. Compassion, love, forgiveness, and fearlessness. Expose them. Expose them. I'm not talking about push, push, push in a violent way, because that can end in a very brutal way sometimes. You see leaders like Martin Luther King, and so beautiful individual, but kept pushing. And he ended up sort of in an avalanche where he couldn't, it wasn't him anymore. And it is destroyed him. When people are getting too popular as well, they get destroyed. When too much power becomes into one individual, they get destroyed. Until now, up until now, I'm saying that times are changing. We are at a point where we never ever been before. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful world. You are being fed crap through this black box in front of you. It is saying that the world is horrible. It is saying that the world is filled with crimes and rapes and immigrants and explosions and terror and so on. Look out the window. Look out the window. What do you see? I think 99.5% of us look out the window and say, wow, that is actually quite beautiful. I mean, I don't live downtown wherever, but most of us live in a place where we look out. There's no like big heaps of bodies. There's nobody shooting right outside my door. But if you look at the black box in front of you, that is what it's trying to convince you of. Why? Look at who's behind these news. Who's controlling the news, and why do they want you to be fearful? Because it's only through fear they can control you. The day we say, if they say, go to war, the enemy is over there, North Korea, Libya, Syria, you name it, that's the demon over there. And you say, it's very kind of you to invite me to this little war of yours, but I think I'll have a cold beer instead. So thank you and bye-bye. See you next Tuesday. If you want to go, be my guest. You know, feel free. You go, kill yourself, whatever, step on a mine, feel free. The day we say, I'm not doing it, totally nonviolent, just saying, I'm not doing it. And there's this thing I want to share. I loved it. I come from a family. I was born in Denmark, and my family was deeply involved in the resistance movement during the Nazi occupation. And so my grandmother's sister supplied the resistance underground movement with weapons in a baby cot. My dad was part of in the resistance movement. My granddad was in jail for helping the Jews go to Sweden and so on. Even though the history is now changing so much, so it's very confusing what actually happened in the Second World War. I was brought up with these stories. And one of the things that I loved with this was that the Germans came with their Tiger tanks into Copenhagen. I mean, this was a death machine on wheel, a mobile death machine that could not be stopped. You couldn't shoot at it, you couldn't throw rocks at it, you couldn't hit it with a car, nothing would stop it, except a spoonful of sugar in the gas. You put a spoonful of sugar in the diesel, and boom, it's over and goodbye, dear Mr. Death Machine. You are not moving anywhere. You can stand with the tower going like this. You can shoot a few rounds like that, not just stop. And the symbolism of the sugar, I love it. I love it. I love it. That's how to do it. Absolute peaceful, non-consent. I'm not taking part of this anymore. Stop it. This. And then focus on doing beautiful stuff in your life. I mean, the world needs love and help. There's so many people out there desperately alone, desperately in so many different situations. So do random, instead of random, like random drive-by shooting, do random drive-by huggings. Go out, hug a cop instead of fearing him. He's used to being feared. He's used to being spat at. He's used to be all kinds of things. He's used to be afraid for his life. Go hug him. Give him a candy, whatever. Show him that if you turn into someone we can trust and stand up as a good individual doing what you're supposed to do, we will welcome you. And there's so much to be done.
Ollie, we got to go to a break now. If you, so we will be right back, folks, in about 2-3 minutes, about 4 minutes. Thank you.
You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Hey, Max, my computer said it wants to restart in 14 minutes. So if I go off the air.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Welcome to the Captain Max Steel Show. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Thank you for the applause there in the background. Thank you very much. We're back here on, back from our break, and I want to thank everybody here, and we're going to continue on with the show. It's been really great, and I really thank you, Ollie, for being here tonight here on Wolf Spirit Radio. Wolf Spirit Radio is a listener-supported station. Please donate. And my website is max21d.com. Check it out and see what I can do. Also, the Actuarium box is definitely almost done, and we're ready for new orders. And I'll be contacting some of you. So if you ever need the Actuarium box, just send me an email, special, forces, FORCES 1953 at gmail.com. Ollie, do you have a website?
It's called lightonconspiracies.com. That's
Ollie, could you speak up a little bit louder? Ollie, I don't know, your volume seems to be very low.
I'm very low.
Yeah, you seem to be dropped out low.
No idea. Is it better now?
Yes, that improved it.
Okay. My website is lightonconspiracies.com. That is conspiracies, plural. There's so many going on. And because this is exactly what I'm trying to do, shine light on the conspiracies. In the darkest of the darkest corner, into the belly of the beast, just let the light do its work and let the truth lead the way.
Good. Do you hear me okay, Russ?
He's muted, but
great. You sound great there. And Jennifer, please mute.
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you real well. All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, folks. Like we said, there's, you know, all these conspiracies and all these act of they're trying to remove our freedom, but we're not going to let them take our freedom away. Especially like Ollie was talking about fear and all that. You got to understand that each one of us live in a different timeline. We all have different timelines. So when you hear of something of fear, especially on YouTube and other programs, they're not expressing fear. They just want you to stay away from it. So as soon as you hear fear trying to harm you in any way, just change your timeline and leave that timeline to them. If you disconnect from the timeline that the YouTube video or expressing some kind of fear like Yellowstone Park and all that stuff, leave that timeline where you're hearing that. And once you leave that timeline, that means that the fear is no longer there. So don't fall into it, and please be at the highest love that you can be and express the love to others. And that will set you free away from this negative entity and light and darkness that they all completely try to fulfill our minds in it. So we got a lot of rednecks down in Georgia, and you know that I'm a redneck from North Carolina. I really am. I'm a Cuban redneck. Oh, there's no such thing as Cuban redneck. I'm Cuban American. And I got to tell you, those rednecks in Georgia are part of our family up here in North Carolina. And if you ever need us, we'll be there to help you. And another thing, there in Cordell, Georgia, my friend Steve and some of your buddies that have dozers, heavy equipment, or somebody near where the stone hedges are, I just go there in the middle of the night, around maybe not middle of the night because you'll wake everybody up. Go around there about 7:30 and bring those dozers down and just knock those hedges down, because they're violating our rights, because they're demonstrating that they want to kill. If you said that in front of a police officer or a law enforcement officer that you want to kill a whole bunch of people, they're going to arrest you. So whoever put those hedges up there in Georgia, you have every right as a citizen to make a citizen's arrest. Okay, you can make a citizen's arrest to whoever put that up. Okay, and you have the right to knock it down, even though it may be private property. Well, I don't see any signs there that says no trespassing. Do you? They're not there. Well, I need for someone out there to knock that thing down and just pulverize that sign that's out there in Georgia. What kind of stuff? What kind of, that was a farmer that sold that piece of land to these dark side people, and he was paid very well. And he was paid to keep an eye on it, even though he says he doesn't. Man, I wish I knew his name. I'd broadcast it right here live. Anyway, thank you, Ollie, for sticking around. And I want to express my my thank you to you and honor that you're here. And out of your own free will, you're giving out the information that folks needs it, the audience needs to hear. So you know what? Let's go deep, very deep. Let's go deep. Is there something that that the audience don't know yet, or it's coming around the mountain, heading this way?
I think if there wasn't a lot I knew that the audience doesn't know, I would have been very lazy in 35 years. But there is one thing that I think is really important that I've been discovering over the years, but it's really come to taking on a whole new level recently. It is when I've been looking into false flag operations and alleged mass shooting, every time I say a terror attack or a mass shooting, please add the words alleged in front of it, because I tell you, I don't even know if I've come across one real one yet. I mean, so many of them are staged. Not saying they're fake, but you have to see who is doing it to us. That's the whole thing. But one of the things that I've come across is that you have these images of victims and blood and destruction and so on. And so often there was a shoe. There's been a shoe somewhere in the foreground or background and so on. And it's been mostly Nike trainers. And over the years, I have like a folder system of almost 3 terabytes of information, perfectly categorized and so on, that you can access through my website. You have to sign up for it though. And I had a special folder that I called shoes, because I kept finding these shoes and shoes and shoes and shoes and shoes. It's often very strategic, right in the center of an image. The sharpness is on the shoe and so on. So the shoes I didn't understand, because like, I don't know about you, but if somebody pulls off an AR-15 and starts shooting at me, I don't sit down, take off my shoes and then start running. I would say I prefer to keep my shoes on and run. Then afterwards, if I feel I've got sore feet or whatever, I can take them off. So what were these shoes doing there? And it's like I started finding them in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of locations. So after a while, I started believing that this is not just a coincidence that these shoes are there. They're actually there for a reason. So to start with, I thought they were sort of like a business card, just like in Operation Phoenix in Vietnam, where this mass extinction program where they killed Viet Cong soldiers, and very often they placed the ace of spade in the mouth of the victim as a business card, also to spread fear. There are many different death squads that have been doing this. So I thought the shoes could be there to send out a message, that this is our operation for the few in the know, so that you would have a perfect communication system to people in the so-called elite or empowered position around the world, without the fear of, without having to fear that emails could be tracked or phone calls could be tapped or normal letters could be read or something like that. You could have like a perfectly silent communication system with the shoes. So boom, 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 something happened. You just place the shoe somewhere in the foreground and Bob's your uncle. Everybody who, like if I were part of them, I would just like, where's the shoe? Okay, there, it's our operation, and get it like that. But then I started talking about this in some interviews, and then I was contacted by a Freemason, and he said to me, you're onto something here, but it's much more than that. These shoes are also Freemasons symbolism. They're very important, because just like in the Freemasons rituals, one shoe off, when they do their own rituals, if they take one shoe off, that means that that individual is doing this ritual voluntarily. 2 shoes off means homage to the sacred space. And they see many of these operations as a ritual, as a ritualistic killing and whatever. So that started making a lot more sense. And then I kept looking, and I mean, it got into bizarre areas where, for instance, you have the alleged terror attack on the Westminster Bridge in London, which I, by the way, predicted 1 month before it happened on international radio, where it said that a guy drove up on the pavement, killed a lot of people, then left the car outside the Parliament in London and ran up and stabbed a police officer to death. Okay, fair enough. But what happened was that when they tried to save the police officer, one of the things is they took off his shoes and held up his feet in the air so that there could be taken some very, very spectacular photos of his bare feet sticking right up into the air. It's almost like a religious painting where they're holding these feet like hallelujah. It's that type of feeling to the photos. And by the way, I have like a team around me of forensic detectives, doctors, former police officers, and so on. So I can ask their advice, ambulance drivers, firefighters, you know, and get real information about, is that how you park ambulances normally? Is that how you put a bandage on? And so on. And so I asked if somebody has got multiple stab wounds in the neck and in the upper body, would it help to put up the feet in the air? And they say, absolutely not. So anyway, so there was also several of the victims on the bridge. They had taken off the shoes very carefully and put them on the pavement before they tried to save this individual, which, I mean, the whole thing was staged. There was no real victims, but the shoes were up there in place there so that they were right in the center of many very important photos, nicely put there. And then first shoes off, and then you try to save the individual. And there was one guy who did his best to save the life of this police officer, they say. There's no photos of him whatsoever. And then while doing that, he lost his shoes, as you do when you do CPR or whatever, but he lost his shoes. Fair enough, possible. Then the very next morning, he was invited to morning TV, and British morning TV. And how did he come to the studio? I mean, since he lost the shoes the day before, I would suggest if you lost your shoes, maybe you have another pair at home, maybe a pair of sandals, buy some new. It's the first time on national TV. No, he came bare feet. And then this was part of the interview, his bare feet. So the feet are super important, the shoes, the feet, and so on. So I was doing, and that's just one example. There are hundreds of them, literally. So I was doing a show together with Cody Snodgrass that you had on the other day, he's really my brother. And we were talking about these things. And then he said, do you know, the more you talk about these shoes, the more I feel that they are part of MK Ultra. When you destroy an individual to become an MK Ultra asset, what they do is they put this individual through absolute horror, terror, rape, sexual abuse, torture, to break up the mind, to split up in multiple personalities. And because then they can control one part of the personality, the one that, the new one, they can control that by trigger words or trigger symbols. So you can have a person that looks absolutely normal, working a daily job, and then just with a trigger word or a trigger symbol, boom, you can activate the other personality, and that can then be used as a patsy or an assassin or whatever they need it for. So he said one of the things they did when these traumas was being forced on this individual was holding up symbols in front of the face while doing it. So every time they went through these traumas, up with the same symbol. So in the end, it was enough just to show the symbol. And that would then put them in this fear state where they could be controlled. So he said, I think that these shoes are a global mind control trigger to, on a global scale, trigger us into fear mode. Because when you look at it all the way from the Holocaust, where the mountains of shoes of alleged victims in these alleged death camps, became the symbol of the so-called Holocaust. And by the way, the Hebrew name of the Holocaust is Shoah, and the shoe has been super central in that. We've been showing it again and again. The museums are filled with mountains of shoes. And so ever since then, the shoe has started to appear when the Vietnam War, the Korean War, the Balkan War, all of these shoes, the 6-Day War, the shoes, abandoned shoes. And then it goes into mass shootings, more or less all the mass shootings in the US, the shoes have appeared there. The terror attacks in Europe, the shoes have appeared there. So, and now when you look at, I tell you, if I open an American newspaper, I can bet you that you will see like a shooting out in Brooklyn outside a nightclub or whatever. And what is there? The photo of the nightclub. It's not a photo of the crime scene. It's just a photo of the Nike shoe. Many, many times. And the shoe has been, like at the Las Vegas mass shooting, which I also predicted about 2 months before it happened. There was a boot that became the symbol of hope with the American flag on it. And so these shoes are there, and it's more or less always Nike. So the more I've done hundreds of interviews where been talking about these shoes, pointing them out and saying, please be aware of when these shoes appear, they are part of false flag operations, coordinated international attacks here, because it's not just what happens in the US is not a standalone thing. It's coordinated with NATO attacks in Europe, coordinated. That's the whole idea with the New World Order. But what they've done, as far as I know, is like the more of us that have become aware of the shoes, they started fading it into bicycles, so that because they need these neutral triggers in the background that we don't really we don't really react. It's just something very normal in the background. But if you're being traumatized again and again and again, and this thing is there, that's the trigger in the end. And so they faded it out. I think it started around the Nice attack, where bicycles started to appear, then the Manhattan van attack, where bicycles started to appear. Then we had this whole thing in Thailand with both Nike shoes and bicycles. Now it's gone more or less over to bicycles. So you have like Bush Senior's heart surgery was shot and a drive-by shooting on a bicycle. Really, it's the first drive-by shooting on a bicycle ever. And this latest attack or alleged attack in London that just happened a week ago or so, where another car did almost a duplicate of the last attack outside the parliament. It said that he hit like 12 people on bicycles before. And every time you see the news in the background, there are people on bicycles like this. And when you speak to people who live in the center of London, they say, we don't have that many bicycles here. People are sort of like, they drive one and one. They never come in big groups like that. So we're looking at staged events with triggers. And this thing with the shoes, I've then tracked it into, it's not only mass shootings, it's not only alleged terror attacks. They're using it, the same identical type of symbol with the shoe in the foreground and then devastation in the background, or just a shoe. They've used it in so many different areas, all the different virus scares, the Zika virus, the Ebola virus, the swine flu vaccine. And by the way, please understand that the patents of these viruses are owned by CDC in Atlanta, Georgia. Also the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, was started in 1946 or 7, at the same time, Operation Paperclip, where all the Nazi scientists were being imported from Nazi Germany into the US, among other things, used to build up NASA, which has, NASA, in my opinion, have never said a true word ever, and CDC, the Center for Disease Control, and changing the OSS into the CIA. All of that happened more or less at the same time. I think not by coincidence. So I totally lost track now, but virus scares, we have gang rape. You can do a search, image search on Google, search for gang rape, domestic violence, many different murder cases where lots of shoes in the background for no apparent reason. You have all the different virus scares, you have radioactivity, nuclear disasters, hurricanes, and more or less, I tell you, more or less anything nowadays that we're being told is something you should fear, these images appear, including, if you write conspiracy theories, there's a dog running around with a shoe in his mouth. I mean, so the shoes are super important, and the bicycles as well. Be aware of them, especially Nike shoes. And also, I would say we're talking about product placement because it's a really good business for these companies to have their products exposed in global media. So I would very much like to ask the company Nike, what the hell are you doing? How come your shoes are always there? How come you make shoes models that are with blood all over them? The model is like that. There's one called Crime Lab. There's another one called Crime Scene, and another one called LeBron 13. I think that was released in France the very same day as the Bataclan massacre took place in France. So they coordinate these things. And while I'm at it, also, have you ever seen any image or footage of ISIS and there's a vehicle in the image and it's not a Toyota? I ask you. Toyota, 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 Toyota. And so on another show, I asked, please someone contact Toyota and put them up against the wall and say, we have a problem here. Apparently, this boogeyman called ISIS is apparently the worst threat to the world ever. How come your cars are always there? Why do you sell your cars to this, massive threat to humanity? And somebody contacted Toyota, and Toyota said, no, we never sold a car to ISIS ever. The orders came through the US State Department. Go figure. And I would also like to add ISIS, if you ask me, total construct of Israel and the US together, financially backed by Saudi, there as a boogeyman, an upgraded version of Al-Qaeda, which was also a created boogeyman. Al-Qaeda, actually, it's the name of the CIA's database of their own agents that they trained and created during the war against Russia and Afghanistan. And then when the Russians went home, what are we going to use them for? Let's create a boogeyman. So Al-Qaeda, and then when they couldn't use to scare even infants anymore, out of nowhere came ISIS. I mean, overnight, boom, the worst threat the world has ever seen. And then they start fiddling around with the name so we won't be able to get onto them. So it's ISIS or IS or ISIL or Daesh. And then I love it. The leaders, we have, what's his name? Baghdadi. Baghdadi. There's been two different Baghdadis. There was one first that I forgot the name of. First, he was killed, then he was captured, then he was wounded, then he was killed again. And then al-Baghdadi, I mean, it really makes you believe in reincarnation. Al-Baghdadi, the first, took over. Then he was killed, wounded, he was put in jail, he escaped, then he was killed again, he was wounded, and then he was replaced by al-Baghdadi number 2. Who was, I don't know if he was killed first or if he was wounded first. I mean, when you look at it, who writes this crap? Is it Monty Python? Or who comes up with it? I mean, let's get the timeline straight. Let's use the same, can we put some kind of credibility into it? But apparently not. So is the popcorn good, Max?
Well, I got a habit that when I get to the half point of the show, I start getting hungry.
Well, go for it.
Well, I've been eating popcorn quietly because my producer gets on my case not to make noise. So I know he's pointing the finger at me right now.
I saw he gave you the evil eye.
Yeah. Anyway, that what you spoke of. Well, oh my God, I lost my memory again. I get that once in a while when I'm doing a show and I want to ask a question, and boom, it goes away. But what I wanted to say that I know that I'm going to mention his name for a reason. Okay, I just remember what I was going to say. The guy who trained ISIS is an American, and he was instructed by only 2 people of the committee that put ISIS out there on the map, and that's Senator John McCain is one of them, and the person who trained ISIS, who is an American CIA agent, which I don't care if I say his name. His name is John Lane, Lane. Okay, and he tried to infiltrate me many, many times, trying to be my friend and all this and that, and I caught up to it, what he was up to. So when I found, I remote viewed what he was up to against me, so I decided to investigate him. So his name is John Lane. He's a CIA agent, and he trained ISIS for the McCain, Senator John McCain. I always told my friends and my wife that Senator John McCain is not a hero. He's a traitor to the United States, and he sang like a canary when he was put into torture to make him talk. He talked just like a canary, and I have always known this because I have a friend that in the Department of Defense that has that recording when he sang like a canary. So I listened to it, and he is a traitor to the United States. And these people need to be prosecuted now. Don't keep those foot, those rings they put around their foot to make them house arrest. No, prosecute them now. You have the evidence. Do it now. Why wait? I mean, look at these people like the Clintons, Hillary Clinton. How many assassins did she have? Well, I know a couple by name. Okay, forget his first name, but his name is Nichols.
Larry.
Larry Nichols, one of them. He was one of the assassins for the Hillary Clinton. And he's trying to make things right on what he did for them, but you already killed these people. There probably some people were some innocent people that he killed for the Clinton for money. And, you know, I know he's sick right now. He's very sick right now because he's paying for his karma for what he did. So you got to understand that even though you did something for these bad people, you still have to pay for this. And now you're paying it with sickness. I don't mean for you to be sick. I'm not saying you're a good person either, because you did things when they told you to do it. So he is sick now. I don't mean to go there, but if you've done something wrong, you're gonna have to pay for it sooner or later. I guess you're paying for it right now because of the sickness you're going through. It doesn't remove your sins that you done at that time when the Clintons tell you to assassinate someone. Okay, it doesn't make it right for you to come out now and say all this. Yeah, it's okay, but you have to pay for those sins, and you will. And I'm sorry to say, I know you're sick now, but they've asking me many times to donate money to it. I'm not going to donate money to a person like that. Even though it hurts for me to say that against a person who's sick, but you're paying for your crime that's what the sickness you're going through. You're paying for your crime, and it doesn't make it right either. You know that you're doing that. But anyway, the Clinton they got proved that the Clinton have killed and I had assassined thousands of people from the beginning of time. Okay, they have those evidence. Look, when they take one of those whistleblowers, they take him, they don't give him a trial, and they shoot him. Okay, they come around, they put these red stickers on your mailbox on the side. You better look underneath too. If you have a red one, they'll come and shoot you right. They'll take you out of the house at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they'll shoot you in the front yard. And if you got a blue one, they'll haul you back to FEMA camp, and then they'll kill you and show everybody else there to make that person an example. If you got a yellow one, you're fine. You know, they know that you're not going to start anything because they already checked you out. But, you know, it's all that. I mean, this has got to stop. These people do not deserve a fair trial. They don't. Because they kill people, they send people to get killed. They don't deserve any justice. They deserve to take it out there in a firing squad, make a big giant hole with an excavator, line them up right there in front of that hole and just shoot the hell out of them. Okay? I'm an ex-Green Beret, all right? I'm not proud of what I done. I asked for forgiveness. When I was living on the river here, at one of our parents' houses, I stood in the cabin that wasn't my dad. I stood on my knees and I asked for forgiveness. Okay, for 12 hours, I asked for forgiveness because of what I was sent to do. Okay, the secret government, they need to be stopped. They need to be stopped. I mean, stop. There's enough of us here, ex-military. Listen to the ex-military. I'm ex-military. I'm going to tell you something that you need to know. They're trying to eliminate all of the veterans, especially when we go to a hospital, because I spent 10 days there. They almost killed me 3 times, okay? And good thing that I know I was wide awake. I mean, I didn't sleep very much when I was there. I slept with one eye open, the other one closed. Okay? And let me tell you something. What I went through in the hospital, it's not the hospital's fault. It's who's inside the hospital that was doing this. They tried to kill me a couple of times when I was in the hospital in July. Okay? Just because I'm bringing the truth out, I ain't going to stop telling the truth. I ain't going to stop bringing good people like Ollie here and Cody Snodgrass. These people are great people. They don't even want to be considered as heroes because they're doing something for justice of this planet, to bring justice and freedom to this planet. And that's what we need, and that's what we're going to do. And you know what, dark side? You can stick it where the sun don't shine. And another thing, kiss my ass. Because the moment I have a chance, I'm coming after you. There you go. Go ahead, Ollie. Sorry, Vanessa, I said bad words. Now I'm going to mute myself and continue to eat my popcorn. What do you think, Ollie?
About kissing your ass?
No, I'm not
I'll
talking.
leave that to them.
No, I'm not saying kiss my ass. I'm telling you, the dark side to kiss my ass.
I know. I feel that I have extreme respect for Cody.
Yes.
He approached me about a year ago, something like that, because he wanted to step forward as a whistleblower, and it was very, very dangerous and scary for him. And I was very happy that he chose me.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he used to be a monster. I mean, he's done gruesome stuff, all based on greed and personal gain and whatever. Then he had this near-death experience where he suddenly discovered they tried to take him out and he flatlined twice. The person next to him died. I don't know if he told you the story. Did he do that? Otherwise, anyway, he flatlined twice, and when he floated up, he saw this classical near-death experience. He saw his body from above. He heard the doctor speak and so on. And the second time he went up there, when his heart stopped, he met his guardian angel. Her name is Aria, I think Aria or Arla, something like that. And she said to him, listen, you have a choice here. Do you want to go back down? We got some important work to do, light work to do. If you choose so, I will be by your side. But if you want to continue, feel free. And so he made the decision to come back down. And since then, it's really interesting because here we have a former monster who speaks in, when you talk to him, you will hear that he says we very often. We are doing this, we have not, we. And when he says we, it's not him and his neighbor, it's him and his angel, and that is by his side. I think that is, for me, very, very interesting, because he has the whole spectrum from the worst of the worst he's done and seen and been part of. You cannot even imagine. And then now he is here also as a spiritual warrior that stands in love and fearlessness and totally expect to be taken out at any time. I mean, when we started taking the first step with him, the only security that was there was to get the information out as soon as possible. So I lined up like 5 shows a day. We started at 5 a.m. his time, and just doom, 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 doom. And at all times he had people, he lives up in the mountains, people were there armed. You know, every time he started the car, he thought it was going to blow up. When he went outside, he avoided the windows because he used to be a sniper, so he know how they work. You know, so he was fearing it all the time, or knowing it, what he was up against. And so it's not a game. It is not a game. And yet again, it is mandatory for us all, I think. We have a choice. We have a choice here. And this is a fantastic opportunity. We have this opening here to lift this world to a whole new level of beauty and harmony and balance. Because once we start seeing that this beautiful body called humanity, it's not evil, it's not horrible, but there is a cancer growth inside it with metastases that are spread, and we need to locate them. Where is the evil? Where is it? And then pull it out with its roots. We have to expose it, even though it's painful and smelly and horrible. We need to open it up. Once it's opened up and we can let the light in there, the body can heal. Because the body doesn't want anything than healing. Mother Earth is begging us, please stop raping me, for God's sake. You know, treat me with respect. She's doing nothing but being incredibly generous to us. And we're just, I mean, come on, it's not on. So we have to change the mindset. Every time somebody's trying to scare us, every time, I would say like this, every time you feel afraid, and it's not on a personal level, it's not your neighbor standing with an axe in his hand or whatever. If it's not that, and you still feel afraid from something you read in the newspaper or you saw or somebody told you, ask yourself, who benefits from me being afraid? Who benefits from me believing this? And who knows, it could be true, it could not be. Maybe it's just propaganda, maybe it's the truth. But before you go into fear mode, take a step back and say, before I'm going to even listen to this, I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to pat my dog. I'm going to have a sausage and a hot bun or whatever, and take a walk, listen to some music, meditate, whatever works for you. Then come back and listen to it again. Watch it again and ask yourself, who benefits from me believing this? And you will see that so often it's the same tiny little power elite that is trying to force you into believing that you are already in a prison. I went to this workshop once. I thought it was really interesting. They were martial arts artists. There was a couple. They were working with Aikido, but also relationships. And I thought that was a really interesting combo, because the workshop was about relationships, but we were doing it in the martial art form. And one of the things was, he said, or this couple said, he took this big guy up, and this guy grabbed me by the wrists and just put me up against the wall like this. And he said, are you stuck? And I tried to move. I couldn't. He was a lot bigger than me. I couldn't move. So I said, yes. He said, are you sure? I said, yes, I cannot get out. Then he said, how big a percentage of you is stuck? And I started looking around, and it was only this tiny little piece on my arm that was stuck. The rest was totally free. And so he said, so instead of you having the mindset that you're stuck, that you're in a jail, that you cannot get out, that there's no options here, feel yourself I'm almost free. I'm almost free. And then he said, with that intention, dance and just dance yourself out. And I tell you, once the mindset was there, the other guy couldn't hold you. It was like you could just run out of it because there was only like 3% of me that was stuck. Look at us. We're so super free. It's incredible. We got food, we got peace, we got everything around us. Family, friends, love, plants, everything in excess even. I mean, look, you go into a supermarket, how much do you need? There's enough there for a whole town. And maybe, you know, we are so well off, but we're kept in what we think is a prison. Oh my God, we're going down, we're going down. No, we're not if we choose not to. So free yourself, free your mind, the rest will follow. Free your mind and the rest will follow. That is such a beautiful quote.
It sure is. Just to let you know that, Ollie, you're a martial artist?
I used to be, but I love Aikido for the simple reason that in karate, for instance, or boxing, you hit or you attack and you block. But in Aikido, you get attacked and you just focus on your inner balance. You step out of the way of the attack, all the time focused on your inner balance. Then you direct the energy of the attack against you into a circular motion, most of the time downwards, so that the attacker falls on his own force. And then you make very sure that he doesn't hurt himself. And then you control him and say, please calm down. And once you're a good boy, I'm going to let you up again. But until then, I need to control you. I love it. It's perfect.
It is.
And so this is the way how to deal with these bullies, because these people are so used to being terrified because they're brutal bullies and murderers and killers and whatever. They live on terror. And so I say, okay, try and terrorize me now if you can, because once again, if you've come to a point, which I have, I think you have as well, where this life is not forever. So I might die now, but until I die, I'm not going to be afraid. I mean, even if you pull a gun to my head, I hope that I will stay fearless, because until you pull that trigger and it turns out that it's actually loaded, because maybe it's only made of plastic or it's not loaded or whatever, I'm not going to be terrorized. Once it's pulled and a bullet is entering my skull, then time to worry. Until then, I'm not going to be terrorized. And once you've taken that decision inside you, I've had the blessing of having death threats, so I had to face these situations, which has taken me to a point where I accepted, if tonight is my last night, I will leave this world feeling proud and satisfied, and I hope that if I'm being taken out, that I will not judge that individual or toxicate my inner self on the way out, that I will leave in peace, bless him, because I'm sure he's believing in what he's doing or being paid well or whatever. That's his karma. I'm not going to aim it at him. At least I hope I can deal with it like that. But until then, I'm just going to go full force, full speed ahead in absolute beauty and peace and compassion and equality for everyone, with one aim: world peace, world peace, world peace, nothing else. Well, it's impossible. Prove that it's impossible. Difficult, yeah, I have no idea, but until then, I'm going to do my utmost. Maybe I fail, okay, so at least I tried. Maybe I succeed, yay, baby. That's fantastic. And if nothing else, it's been an incredible ride.
Ollie, what you've been doing is teaching people how to be peaceful. You know, you're setting an example of what we all need to do. One of the things that I used to do is work with teenagers, as I showed you in my little video, Breaking Ground for Peace, teaching them how to be peaceful. And we taught them how to give feedback to one another so that they wouldn't, beat each other up. And in a year, we reduced the suspension rate by half. And we had kids sign a petition. 1,500 people around the school in the community signed a petition to be peaceful, and they were. And it just permeated the whole community. We changed that in 1 year time. So when we teach peace and show how to be peaceful, that's the best thing we could do, is set that example like you do.
And Jennifer, may I applaud what you've done. That is a beautiful, fantastic, wonderful, wonderful example of what you can do. Did you do it with weapons? Did you do it with force? Did you do it with anything, trying to push people into it, persuade them? No, not at all. You invited them in to become who they are. It's beautiful. I applaud it. I applaud it. I applaud it. Beautiful, beautiful. And the way you reached out to the people in Japan as well. I mean, suddenly it goes global, and every single person you reach will then start spreading and doing. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
And do you know, with kindness, I love kindness, because they made studies as well that if you do a random act of kindness, and it needs to be kindness with no strings attached, don't expect anything in return, then you screw it up. But if you do something kind to someone else, you feel good. If the other one who receives it can feel that you're not doing it to get anything, but it really comes freely, that individual feels good. But also anyone who sees it, that they feel good as well. It has this incredible thing of lifting people. When you see kindness, when you see generosity, when you see things done because of love and compassion, it's magnificent. I get goosebumps all over. I love it. And every time I see it, I get tears in my eyes. And can I also say, I know that I've reached millions of people. I'm just like a lone farmer boy, lost in the world, I don't know how I ended up, but apparently now some people are listening to me. And I know that I have reached millions. So what is it that reaches them? What is it? Because I get all of these fantastic emails and comments from all over the world. What is it? It is because before every single interview, what I do is, I'm not a religious person, but I pray and I say, please get my ego out of the way. Let me say all the things that is needed to be said to lift this world to the next level of beauty, understanding, forgiveness, harmony. And I ask all the saints and sages, all the angels, all my ancestors to support me in this thing. And I also thank them afterwards. You have to thank them also. And please, if you don't believe in angels or not, doesn't matter. I'm not really sure, but I know for sure that I get help many times. But you need to ask them that in the game plan of this life, we're not being told that angels cannot interfere if they are not asked to. You need to invite them for them to assist you. And so when I talk, I try to get out of the way and then say whatever. I mean, often I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'll just say. But the reactions I get from people is that it touches their hearts, because it comes through me, through my heart, because the only thing, my intention is the important thing. And then that triggers that in them so that they start expanding and they go from the mindset down into the heart and start working more from the heart. And that's where beauty happens. I feel so blessed to be part of or being used for a thing like this.
Okay, we're coming to the end of the show. Well, we got 3 minutes left. I want to thank I know there's not a live audience here today, but as soon as I'm finished here, I'm going to put it on my YouTube. Ollie's website is lightonconspiracies.com. That's where you can, if you want to reach him somehow. If you want to reach me, it's specialforces1953@gmail.com or 21d.com. That's my website. I'm an intuitive and also do sessions. And I'm the creator, inventor of the Arcturian box that does all kinds of healing. And very soon, Jennifer, you'll be getting yours. So I'm sending both at the same time. The other thing is that I wanted to talk about, it takes a lot of courage for someone to come on a live show showing their face. That means that this person is in gratitude to his heart and what he believes in, and he loves himself, and he sends love to all of us, send love to everyone on the planet. So you got to understand that, even though we say a lot of things, especially me, I say a lot of things because I'm not afraid. I don't have one drop of fear in me. Okay. And once you learn how to remove fear from your body, you'll be a better, stronger person than you are. So when you're being attacked in any other way by watching these videos on YouTube, that's as a horror, even the movies you watch, they're horror movies, there's messages in there that it's trying to put you in more fear. So I've been given the warning of 60 seconds for the end of this program. I want to thank Ollie for being on the show, Jennifer, my wife Nicole, Vanessa, Russ, my producer, and myself. Thank you so very much for being here today. And we all love you, and we all want to keep the peace. Go ahead, Ollie.
Could I just say a few words? I know 60 seconds here. Please, I'm a one-man band. If you want to support me in my efforts of stopping this madness, I've got Patreon. I do videos on a daily basis to try and lift people. I've got multiple books on Amazon, on my website, Light on Conspiracies, Twitter. I'm on Facebook as well. But I would so much like to end with a prayer. Not that I'm a religious person, but if that's okay with you.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May the light of truth overcome all darkness, so victory to that light.
Thank you. That was very beautiful. And the last thing I'm going to do, I'm coming after you, Cabal. As soon as I'm more in health, I'm going to kick your ass all over the place. And all the Army veterans out there, you can join me if you want. If you still got no more fear, follow me and I'll take you to the right place. I love you. Good night.
Beautiful